Hello Big Macs, welcome back to another video. So yes, Big Macs, today I'm back with another video, and today I'm doing something that I've never done before, so I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna go, and that is I'm going to be doing a behind the scenes look of how I made my song Vaughn. Now, for those of you who don't know, recently I released a song that I've been working on for a while called Vaughn. And to those of you who have heard it already and have listened to it, just seriously, thank you so much for all the love and support on that video. It's crazy. All the comments are just so nice and it's just amazing. It's crazy. And I'm just very grateful for all the positivity that you guys gave that song and how much of you really liked it and how many of you were inspired by it. It's crazy that I made something that inspires people, but I'm just blown away by all the support that it got, and just seriously thank you guys for that. But now to this video. I asked on Twitter if some of you guys would want me to kind of do a behind the scenes kind of look on how I made this song and all the inspirations for it, and a lot of you guys said that you wanted to see it, so that is what I'm going to do today. Now, I have never really done anything like this before, so we'll see how this goes. But anyway, let's just get into it. So first off, as I've stated many times while I was making this song is very much inspired by the anime Terror in Resonance, because the soundtrack in that anime is easily one of my favorite soundtracks ever. It is so fucking good. If you have never watched Terror in Resonance, I highly suggest that you do. It is a great anime, and the soundtrack is amazing. So that heavily inspired that, and that is all thanks to Kano Yoko, I believe is how you pronounce her name, but she is a Japanese composer, and she has done some of my favorite soundtracks ever. Her work is amazing. She did Cowboy Bebop, and that is another one of my favorite soundtracks ever. So, and if you look up all of her work that she's done, all of the soundtracks that she's done have been amazing. So I highly suggest that you check her out as well. Terror in Resonance, the main song that inspired it it's kind of funny because it is not the song that's Vaughn, but the song that kind of more inspired it was the song Burden, featuring Arnor Dan. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure he's an Icelandic singer as well, and he was on this song. But if you have not heard that song, just kind of the structure of the song is kind of what was inspiring, how it starts off a bit slow and then kind of picks up, and then you have that big release at the end. I've always loved those songs, and I really just wanted to make a song that was kind of like that. And another great example, I'll get into it a bit later, but the band Sigur Rós also kind of inspired the song, but I'll get into the song that it was kind of helped inspired it later. But right now, let's get into looking at the song. So for those of you who may not know what this program is right here, I like to use Pro Tools. When I went to school for music, it's what we used, so I have learned a great deal amount on how to edit on here. When I first started with Vaughn, the only thing that I had for the longest time was just the first guitar part, this part was really the only part that I had. This whole first part that you hear at the beginning when it's just the guitar, that's all I had. I didn't really have any kind of idea of what to do with the song. It was just that part was the only thing that I had, and I was that would be a really great song to try to do something with. I really like how this sounds, but I don't know what to do, because I'm very notorious for just doing little things like that, and I'm oh, that sounds pretty cool, but then I never go anywhere with this. So this song was kind of the first time that I forced myself to sit down and try to envision how I would want it to go. So that's why Burden, that song, kind of inspired that, because it kind of starts off the same where it's just the guitar, but then it kind of adds different elements into it. So that's why the song starts off like that, and then you have this nice subtle cello note that just comes in to join in on I guess you could call it the second verse. But this note starts off very quiet, and then I have it kind of increasing in volume throughout the entire song, but this is literally just one note that just goes throughout the entire song. And then when the song starts to pick up is where the song that I'll get into by Sigur Rós was inspired, but it's this part here where everything starts to kind of pick up. Is when I introduced some good old bass, and then I also decided to have kind of a big bass drum come in, And then I also, this is the part that was kind of inspired by the Sigur Rós song. I added in some stomps that I'm not sure if many of you picked up on that, but there are stomps in this song. They're very kind of subtle, but now you can kind of hear them. I got a sample of some stomps here. So these are them. And initially it was just this one stomp, but then I was like, it just doesn't sound big enough for me. So what I did was I pitched up the stomps. As you can probably kind of hear it like there. These are the same ones as the other ones, but I just went in Pro Tools, they have this lovely place here, and you can go into pitch shift, and I just pitched them up. I forget how much I did pitch them up, but I just pitched up these stomps a bit, and then I kind of just shifted it a bit so not all of them are on the exact same time, and it sounds like a group of people kind of stomping together. If you know what I mean, that's kind of like the effect that I was going for. And what that was inspired by was this song Glos Soli by Sigur Rós. I'm not sure how, but like you hear here how you can kind of hear the stomps going along with the bass drum. And again, this song is kind of structured in the same way where it starts off all nice and mellow, but then it has that big release at the end. And that's something that I've always liked in songs. I don't know why. Some of my favorite songs are like, I call them build-up songs, where it just starts off very minimal and then you just have stuff added on top. And then you just get stuff that gets introduced to the song, and then you have that initial just huge release that kind of brings all the elements that are getting introduced to the song together. Like that, those are just some of my favorite songs, and I've always wanted to make something like that. So this was me doing something like that. Back to this song. So after here, you can kind of hear how everything gets like picked up. And this is where I kind of also wanted to do something different with the guitar. I didn't want to have it doing like, it's still doing like playing the same notes, but I kind of wanted it to pick up a bit. So you can hear how like just kind of playing along with the bass, but just a bit faster. And then again, the same thing when it starts picking up even more and like the bass drum starts hitting faster, everything starts playing a bit faster here. And at first, you can kind of, I don't know if you guys can hear this, but I never used to have, I don't know how to introduce this, but this is what it sounded like originally. It was just like the guitar starts to play a bit differently as well, still doing the same notes, but like different pickings, and the bass is kind of going a bit faster, and as you can hear, the bass drum and the stomps are going along faster, like building it up even more. But this is how it was for a while. It was very, it just felt bare to me, like that part, because it just felt nothing else has been introduced. It was like too similar. So for some reason, this was like one of the last things I added to this song was these here. One of them is just the notes from the beginning, like these ones here. I just reversed them. So it has the reverse before the like note gets played. Here, if I play it, you'll probably understand. Like here. Like so that is like before the note. It's like a nice kind of reverse lead into the note that's about to be played. And you can hear a lot of how it's very affected. I added, I'm not gonna show you every little detail, but I added a nice effect to it of like heavenly chorus is what it's called. So that just kind of added a nice, you know what, I don't know how to explain it. It just adds like a different element, so it doesn't sound the exact same, and it kind of stands out a bit from all the other notes that are being playing. And then I also kind of did the same thing with another guitar that is just playing what's happening at the beginning, but I affected that one heavily as well. And it kind of just goes along with this reverse here. As you can hear that, how it's very like effect heavy. And another thing that I'm not entirely sure if a lot of people caught on, you can see here that they're panned each to different side, because I just like the effect of it kind of like panning in one way and then coming out another side. It added a nice effect, but if you listen to it with headphones, you can hear the like it fades in from one side and then you have the note coming from the other side, because a lot of stuff that is already in this song is very just front and center. So I was like if I just left those two affected guitars in the middle, it would be too much of a cluster of everything in the middle. Like it would take away from the main guitar doing its thing and the bass and the kick drum and the stomps happening that are already in the middle. So I wanted to pan them out so it's not everything just a cluster in the middle, if that makes sense. And then one of the greatest things that took me so long to do, because when I first did this song before the drop, you know how it kind of, if you've listened to it already, you know that there is the reverse part that before goes into the initial big release of this song. And this is what it sounds like just by itself. Which, it took me a while to figure that out. The first one that I got was this, which is just, again, I just took one of the notes from the very beginning guitar and I just slowed it down as much as I could to get this sound from it. So literally this is just, I think this is the first note of the song, just reversed and slowed down a lot. It's getting sent to this verse effect here that just has a shit ton of, it just has a shit ton of effects on it. Like it has a chorus, a talk box, an enigma, and like a sci-fi effect. And I'm not sure if many of you, if you haven't listened to it with headphones, again, I highly suggest that you do, but it has this very like jarring kind of like going back and forth between left and right effect onto it. And you can see here, I actually wrote down in the notes. So the song is originally, I have a tempo of 150. So you can see here that I slowed this guitar down 50 BPM. The other track on this is just a slowdown of a piano. And this one, I'll show you where I got this guitar part from. This happened by fluke, because those of you may not know, this is a MIDI piano that is in this song, because I do not have a fancy recording studio and can't afford like $1,000 piano. So I just have a MIDI piano, and I use, there's a nice little like key, you can't see it. I have I'll try to pull it out. I have this Korg here, a micro Korg that I use to like play all the notes on. So I use that, and then just use a MIDI piano that I have from Native Instruments. But when I was first doing this, I accidentally, before I was like gonna start playing all the notes to it, I accidentally hit the piano, and you hear that little like subtle, that was an accident. But I just like the way that it sounded, so I left it in. So this plays along with the, here, I'm just gonna try to turn this up so you can actually hear it, because you can barely hear that. Like you hear that? That was an accident that I just left in because it sounded cool. But that is what this reverse piano is. I took that tiny little bit of a hit on the piano, and I slowed it down from 150 BPM to 35 BPM. And then again, I put another effect on it, and it's getting sent to this reverse effect that I have. So it went from sounding like this to sounding like this. Yes. So that is what I did. And I should note, I don't know if I said this before, but all of these are like those notes, but also reversed as well. So you get that nice kind of like fade in effect. And then the final thing that I did was I just took a cymbal hit and just reversed that, the very classic reverse cymbal. So all of those together made this. And that took me a while to do, because before, when I was making this song, I knew that I wanted to do that, but I never had anything for it. So for a while I was editing this song, all it did was this. Like, it just fades out and nothing happened. And then it went in, and then it went into that, and I was like, it just sounds boring. So it took me a while to come up with that reverse part, but I'm very happy with what I got. But now let's move on to my favorite part of this song, and that is the final big release. So after this whole reverse part here is where shit just gets real. So here you have now actual drums, guitars, and strings and pianos all happening. So let's try to break that down. So first up, I guess the drums are kind of self-explanatory. You just have the cymbals and the kick drum. And I also, for this part too, just to make the kick hit a bit more, I kept the kick that's happening in the like the whole before part. I had that playing along with the actual kick drum just to make them sound bigger and have a different sound to it too. Bass, again, is just playing along with like the guitars, but for the guitars, there are actually 3 different guitars happening here. And I'll explain how I do guitars, because this is how I was taught, and it makes a lot of sense to me now that I know this. But these are 3 separate guitars playing the same thing. So like the guitar that's doing this is also playing like along with that. You have that guitar, and then you also have, like, I added more distorted guitars. So yes, I added more distorted guitars. One's coming from the left, one's coming from the right. So I'm not entirely sure how many of you would know this, but when you are like, when you want to double a guitar, which is what this is here, you have 2 different recordings of the guitar playing the same thing. And the reason why you do that, instead of just taking one of these tracks and just duplicating it and panning them both, is that it's a difference of like something sounding bigger and something sounding louder, if that makes sense. Like, if I were to just take this guitar track here and just duplicate it and pan it, it would just be the same guitar part playing, but just louder. Instead of having these 2 separate guitar parts, even though they're playing the same thing, there is going to be that subtle sound difference. So it makes them sound bigger instead of louder, if that makes sense. So what I did for this part to make it sound bigger was that I doubled the guitars, or in this case, I kind of tripled them, and it just makes the guitar sound massive in this part. So that's just the guitars with all of those there. But now let's move on to the more interesting parts, and this was seriously the most fun I've had doing this song, was the strings. So this is that cello note that is just playing throughout the entire song. It comes back in here and just does its thing, playing the same note over and over again. But then I added another cello to play other notes. So those, I think the cello was the first one that I did, and it's just kind of playing along with the guitar, as well as added a nice violin. So yeah, that's the beginning, is just they're kind of all just playing along with the same notes. Oh, sorry, I forgot. There is another violin as well that's playing, I believe it's playing the same thing as the other violin, but just octave up. So you have those all there doing their thing, just playing along. So Those were the strings that were being played at that part. And then I was like, I really wanted to add a piano, so I did. And it's just... Let's mute this so you can hear the piano. It's just a very simple piano. Just playing 3 notes and like... Here, like you can hear it just kind of like repeats itself, and then at certain parts just played a different note to add a nice kind of different sound to it as well. So all of those together, I just love listening to just the strings and the piano. Like, this is what they sound like just by themselves. And then when you play it all together, this is what you got for your big release here. See? Oh, you can kind of hear it now. When you notice that, like, subtle hit, you can hear it now. But, so this is what you got when everything was together. So that is everything all together. I'm not going to show like the drums in that because it's very kind of straightforward. I'll get into it a bit after, because now we get to my absolute favorite part of the song is the ending part where everything just shit hits the fan at this point, is what I like to say. So this is what it sounds like with everything. So that is what they all sound like together, and that is my favorite part of this song, because honestly one of the hardest but also one of the funnest things that I have ever written. So let's just go through it all and break it down. So what I do for the drums is I use Native Instruments has good drums, but then I also have triggers. If you are into recording, you know what trigger is. So I have those samples playing along with the drums as well. So that is the drums. I'll just quickly go over the guitars because I really want to get to the strings because they're my favorite part. So for the guitars at this part, what I did to make the strings stand out more is that I just lowered the volume for them a bit more just to have the strings at this point stand out. But you can hear it's the same 3 guitars just strumming instead of like just strumming along. That's pretty much all the guitars are at this point. But now let's get into my favorite, and that is the strings. Strings and piano, I'll just mute or solo them all so you can hear what they sound like by themselves. But while making this song, I would just listen to this for so long because I love it. So this is the strings and piano. So that is what they all sound like together. So let's break this down. When I first made this, I just had the same, like these are still the same, sorry, I just get so distracted by them. So these strings here were just, when I first initially was making the song, I just had them repeating what they were doing, but it just sounded too basic and bare. So what I decided to do was to add another cello that is playing what It's playing along with the other cello, but again, another octave higher than... Like you can hear this one's higher than this one. And I just pretty much did that with all the other instruments. So like this violin, and you have the other high violin still doing the same thing. But I was like, it needs like something, the something that I added. As you can see, there's no, you might be wondering what this violin's hard and cello's hard tracks are. I was like, it just is missing some kind of to it, you know? So what I did was I added these lovely things. And I don't know if many of you could even hear it, because with everything, you can't really hear them too well. But it just added that nice, like, it just picked up the pace of the song. Yeah, so those you can't really hear. You probably hear them now when I just play the strings by themselves. You can hear it. And you can hear how it adds that nice, like, it quickens the pace of the strings. Like, without them, you can notice a huge difference. It just kind of sounds the same. But when you add these in, it just kind of picks it up a bit. Which is what I wanted this end part to be. And then another lovely fact is that I was like, I really, because in Burden, if you have not heard the song, I'll play the part that I just love immensely. Is that this part right here. Like, the strings come in and then this higher one comes in. I loved that because it just added so much to it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to add viola is what it is called. And that is very high. So I did it. So here is this. It's just kind of playing along with everything else. But my absolute favorite part of the song was an accident. And it's this part here. Those two notes, like this part right here, I'll play it with all of them so you can kind of hear it, but I'll explain how it was an accident. These right here. That part is my favorite part of the song. I don't know why. I think it's just the combination of the notes that happen in it. It just sounded so good to me, but it was a complete accident because what I was initially going to do is, you can hear that all these things are just kind of playing along like the same notes that are being played with the guitars, but for the viola I couldn't go that high. Like you can hear here how it should go up, but instead it goes down, and that is because this was the highest note that it could do. So I was like, shit, what do? I can't go any higher. So I was like, I guess I just have to try to figure it out. So luckily I found two other notes that worked with it. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that. And then when I played them all together, I was like, holy shit, I love the way that sounds. So then I got other instruments to kind of play those as well. So you get this. You can hear different notes being played. And I love the way that sounds. And then for this ending part here, well, I just kind of turned up the volume for them, so they're each getting louder on that last note, just to make them get more in your face before it drops back down to just the guitar. But now let's get into another part that was inspired by a different anime, and let's get into the piano. So the piano at this part, it was still supposed to just do the same thing. You can hear here, this is what I had originally. So the piano was just doing the same thing, but it just, much like when I added the cellos that are hard and the violins that are hard, I was like, it just doesn't have that drive. The piano just kind of stays still in this spot. I was thinking that I wanted to add something to it, but I was like, I don't know what I can add to make the piano drive. And then luckily I was watching Your Lie in April, and my favorite song from this one, I don't know how to, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name, but you can see it on the screen. But this song here kind of just solves all my problems, really. Like, you can hear this piano here is kind of doing what the other piano was, but it's this other piano that comes in that sold me on what I needed to do. This piano here. I love this piano so much, and that just solved like my problems. I was like, yes, I'll just add another piano, but playing something a lot faster. Because I don't know what it is about this piano. I just fell in love with the piano in this song so much. Like, I just love that, how you still have one piano playing the same thing, but you get a second piano that gets introduced that is doing something else. So that is when I decided to add what I called the crazy piano, that is just playing the same thing over and over again, but a lot faster. But it gives the piano that, like, drive that I was looking for. So just the pianos now sounded like this. And it, again, without the crazy piano, it's just kind of like, but with it, it just gives it that, like, you know? But because I'm me and I'm fucking weird and I love just messing around with sounds, I was like, you know what? This isn't enough for me. I wanted to add something else. So what I decided to do, for some reason, that I'm not even sure if you can't even, like, hear it really, but I just love the way that it sounded, that I kept it in, is that I took this entire piano track and I just reversed it. So this is my crazy piano reverse that I decided to add. And it just sounded cool to me, that I was like, I just want to leave that. So together with the crazy piano and the piano reverse, it sounds like this. Like, you can hear it now. Like, you can hear the huge difference that it makes. I shouldn't say huge. To me, it makes a huge difference, but really it makes like a subtle difference. So then the pianos all together sounded like this. And it just added that, like, nice drive to it. So then all together, you get this lovely, lovely ending that I came up with. And now, I'm wondering now that since I've pointed out all these, like, tracks that are in there, if when you listen to this song again, if you'll be able to notice them. But this is it. So that's all of them together, and then this ending here. The strings pick up, get bigger, and then everything just drops down to the beginning piano, or guitar. And another funny thing about this ending is that I wasn't sure if I just wanted to fade it out here. And this is something that you'll be able to hear if you have headphones on. It's hard to hear on, like, speakers and stuff for some reason, but if you just listen to it, you can hear a lot of noise in the guitar, and that is just because, like, here you can hear a lot of noise if you have headphones on, like good headphones. You can hear so much noise that's happening. And the reason why that is just the room that I'm in. There's a shit ton of other like, there's like a fuse box and all these like lights and shit that just gets picked up by the pickups in my guitar. And sometimes I have to try to position myself in a certain way to not get any of that. But for the ending, for some reason, I liked the way that it sounded. Normally it would piss me off, but it just added so much to it and a nice feeling to the guitar that I was like, it just sounds like the guitar went through some shit. Much like in Terror and Resonance, when you find out all the information on 9 and 12, it just, I don't know, it just sounded good to me when I was thinking that. I'm like, yeah, this guitar went through some shit, so of course it's gonna have this like distorted sound to it. And instead of just fading it out, I just left it in to when I just stopped holding the note on the guitar, and you can kind of hear whether that happens. Like there. That's when I was like, oh, that should be good enough for me to fade it out. But I just never faded it out. So yeah, that is Vaughn. And again, if you guys really want me to go into like a lot more detail than I did, even though I went into a lot of detail, let me know, because this was kind of fun, just like breaking down this song and showing you guys how it came up with everything. Like if you want to know more of what I use or how I use things to make things sound the way that they sound, let me know, because this was fun and just breaking down this song. But yeah, that is how I made my song Vaughn. I hope that you guys found this interesting on how I did it. I know that this video might be a bit long. I can tend to ramble on about things, but it's because, I don't know, I'm just kind of proud of myself for making something like this. But then I'm also, once again, I just felt so happy, because before I released the song, I was so nervous because I've never really released anything that I've made before, or haven't really even made anything before. So I was kind of nervous onto how you guys would feel about it, because also I react to a lot of like K-pop and J-rock and a lot more heavier stuff. So I was like, oh, I don't know if they would be expecting something to be a bit heavier or whatever. So just as soon as I put it out, it was nothing but positive comments and you guys loving it and people saying that it's inspiring you. And I was just like, so fucking blown away that you guys loved it and you guys enjoy it and support it. So I'm just honestly so grateful for you Big Macs for liking this. And I hope that you guys found this somewhat entertaining and not boring, even though I'm not entirely sure how many of you guys know what I'm talking about when I start talking about music or whatnot. But again, I'm just so honored and so grateful, and just I feel so blessed that you guys just were like took it the way that you did, and so many of you guys loved it and liked it, and so many of you supported it. I'm just can't say thank you enough to you guys for all the support that you guys showed this song. Once again, that is the song. If you have not heard it before, I don't know why you would watch this video first, but if you haven't heard it, I would suggest that you can check it out as well. You can also buy it. I put it on Bandcamp. You can pay whatever you want. You can download it for free, or you can pay whatever you want over there. So if you want to do that, I'll leave links to that in the description down below. And again, to you guys who bought it and paid for it, just thank you so much. It's crazy to me that people will spend money on something that I made. Like, take care of yourselves first. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And again, if you guys wanted me to kind of go more in depth on like how I record certain instruments or how I do it or how I show you, because as I said before, like maybe 70 to 75% of the instruments that are used in a bunch of the stuff I use are MIDI instruments that I have just spent a lot of time with to try to make them sound as real as I can. So if you guys wanted me to either show you how I record strings or how I do the drums or guitars and stuff like that, if you wanted more in-depth kind of stuff on that, let me know in the comments down below as well. But I hope that you guys did enjoy this video. I know a lot of you guys over on Twitter said that you wanted to see it, and hopefully it was interesting to you guys. I'm not entirely sure how many of you kind of know what I'm talking about, but again, I hope that you guys did enjoy this. If you did, I would love it if you click that thumbs up button down below. And if you guys are not subscribed, you can do so by clicking that subscribe button down below. But yeah, anyway, again, this song was inspired by so many different things. That's why, as someone who kind of makes music or wants to make music is why I listen to so many different genres, and I think people kind of also find it weird how I listen to so many different styles of music. But for me, it's like, if I want to make music, I can't look at a genre of music and be like, oh, that's stupid. I'm never going to make something like that, because you never know what is going to inspire you. As shown here, we had 2 different animes and a band from Iceland that inspired this song. So that's why I try to listen to as much stuff as I can. If you guys want me to go more in depth on that subject, because I feel like I could talk about that for like 20 minutes on music appreciation, I can do a let's talk on that if you guys were interested in that as well. But for this video, I think that is where I'm going to have to end it. I feel like I've been recording this for about an hour. I've been talking about this song for about an hour. I don't know how long the actual video will be, but I feel like I've talked for far too long on this song, and hopefully I can make it interesting and not a boring video. But once again, I hope that you guys did enjoy this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.